You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Thursday, September 19th. 49ers are preparing to make their trip down to Los Angeles, a.k.a. another home game for the 49ers. Joining me, as always, on a Thursday is Monica of Football is Sexy. Monica, how you doing?
What's up, sexy people? And what is up, my girl, Steph? Man, we have a lot to talk about, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate you, girl. I need a place to vent.
Absolutely. This is the place to do that. We got a lot to talk about. But first, we have some news that came in within the last hour. And I literally just told Monica about this before we went live, and she was just as shocked as me and the rest of us when we heard about this. George Kittle and cornerback Mooney Ward have been added to the injury report for the 49ers. They did not practice today. George Kittle dealing with some hamstring tightness and Mooney Ward dealing with a hamstring and knee injuries. So this is not ideal for the 49ers, to say the least, when you consider that they're already dealing with Deebo Samuel likely out for this game and for the next couple weeks, and Christian McCaffrey already being on IR. So the injuries continue to pile up. And I know we've been talking about the Rams, and we're like, oh my God, look at their list of injuries. But the 49ers list is growing. So this is not ideal.
No. And you know, and in fact, I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna make a t-shirt, and I don't want to give my I'm not gonna say it, but I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna have a t-shirt made for us. That's what I'll say. And it's gonna be funny, kind of, not really, talking about like injuries. And you know, for the new fans, not that there's any on here, but it is what you pray for every season. You pray that your team stays healthy, because it's so hard to find a good team that gels, that has chemistry, vets, rookies. And then you finally get this great team, and then they hurt themselves, and then they can't play. It's frustrating, man. It is frustrating. Now, how long's George? Is he going to be out for sure? Do we know?
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. This is his first time appearing on the injury report, right? And this is his first time not practicing. The other days this week that the team practiced, he was out there. So it seemed like this hamstring tightness is something that maybe, you know, came about, flared up in the last day or so. And you know, they're keeping it safe with him and not having him out there. I mean, realistically, I feel like there's a chance that he could still play on Sunday.
Time.
Yeah, there's time.
Yeah,
there's time. So that's what I'm thinking. And I'm hoping, because otherwise it would just be pretty bad. We've got Desi in the chat.
Make it stop.
Make it stop. Yeah. And on Fridays, right? She joins us to the preview show to talk about these injuries. So definitely going to be, you know, asking her about George Kittle and if this hamstring tightness is something that we should be worried about and could keep him out through Sunday. So TBD on that. But obviously right now, that's not great to be hearing for the 49ers, because I've been saying, like, there's no excuses for the 49ers to lose this game. But with another injury, now I'm like, okay.
So basically, our twos are going to be playing. I mean, it's almost, I hate to say it, I don't want to say that it's going to be like fair or what have you, but like, I know that the Rams have a lot of injuries as well, but I feel like we have a little bit more of our starting lineup. I mean,
absolutely.
It's just not good.
It is not good. And I do kind of want to start the show about, well, one, talking about these injuries, but also what that means for Brock Purdy, right? Like, I think that's pretty huge. And it could make things a little more difficult for Brock. So just gonna jump into that now. I actually was uh tuning in to 95.7 The Game. They had Kevin Harlan on there. He was the broadcaster who did the 49ers Vikings games on Sunday. And it was a great interview if you guys want to check the full thing out. But just very briefly here, I have his quote. He was kind of just talking about Brock and how he's really going to have to be tested, or he's going to be tested these next couple of days without two key pieces of the offense. Mind you, this was before the news of possibly George Kittle even being out came out.
Yeah.
But he had to say, quote, Brock Purdy is going to have to be lights out. Quarterbacks who make 40, 50 million a year, that's the way they got to play when they don't have every part at their disposal. These next weeks are incredibly revealing. I think it will solidify his place, not just for this year, but for the rest of his career. This is where he's going to be tested as much as any time because he doesn't have the things that make him and that offense special, end quote. And I think that rings even more true today when you consider the fact that George Kittle might not even be out there on Sunday. So obviously, I think there is going to be some added pressure on Brock Purdy. Do you kind of see this as a career-defining stretch of games without Christian McCaffrey, without Deebo Samuel, and possibly now without George Kittle for Brock Purdy?
No, as a matter of fact. And as you were reading, I'm like, wait, I've heard this name. Let me go. Who is this guy? Because no, I actually don't agree with any of that, to be honest. It goes back down to, and this is just my feeling, like it's the disrespect that we have for Brock. Why do we have to put more on his shoulders just because his starters are out? Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't know, Patrick Mahomes had his starters out, they're not going to say, oh, this is going to be a define. It's not a defining anything. Brock is a great quarterback. With or without our starters, he is still a great quarterback who, by the way, is number 1 in yards right now without a lot of key pieces. So I just don't like that we put everything on Brock. I get it. It's the quarterback position. We all know how important that position is. But you're asking any quarterback to have different targets when their starters are out. It's part of the game. It doesn't mean it's going to change his career. Would it be amazing to shut up the naysayers like this person right here? Absolutely. I hope it makes Brock more excited to go out there and do what he's got to do. We still have Juwan Jennings. We still have Mason. We still have Kyle Juszczyk. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's fair to say that this is a defining moment. I think it'll be something that people will talk about, but by any means is it not a defining moment. He is a great quarterback, and I will say this though. I will say this season is a defining year for Brock. The game isn't, the season is. And I believe between 5 to 7 million defining.
That's fair. And I think that's kind of what he's saying, right? Like,
right.
If to this point we've kind of seen Brock Purdy as this top 10 quarterback in the league, and we're looking at the quarterback market and we're saying like Brock Purdy deserves to be the next highest paid quarterback because he's going to be next in line after the season ends. I mean, obviously that comes with the expectation that Brock Purdy should be able to look good through these games, right? And so what it sounds like from you, Monica, that it sounds like you still think that Brock Purdy should have success. You still think he should look good in these games, even without McCaffrey, Samuel, and possibly without Kittle.
I mean, you have to, right? But are we going to hold him to the same standard that we would if all of the starters were in there? That's all I'm saying. And I kind of get what you're saying. Like, I believe this is a defining season. I don't think it's a defining game. I think that the next few games are important, obviously, but this is part of, I mean, this goes to like the domino effect, right? The Niners have to do a better job. I love my boys. You already know this, but the Niners have to do a better job of signing our key people a lot sooner because there's always a residue, right? So we're still behind the 8 ball on Brandon Ayuk. We're still behind the 8 ball a little bit on Trent. I mean, I don't know how you could play such an amazing game on Monday and then we came out. We haven't even talked about the loss to the Vikings yet. Like it was like two different teams. Like I was like, what just happened? Right. So I don't even know what to blame it on, quite frankly. But because we don't really have a great excuse because we did amazing week 1. So other than the coaching, what can we blame it on other than executing, coaching, all that good stuff. But to go back to the Brock thing, I just think it is a constant until he wins a Super Bowl. Sadly, I think he's going to hear these types of things, and all quarterbacks do. I think he's probably got a great team around him. He's got faith. He's just a really good guy, and I think that he's always going to do he's going to study. He's going to do what he came to do. But I just feel like sometimes he gets I don't know. It just
a bad rap.
Yeah, kind of like a bad rap, and it is what it is. And I'm so excited for that day that he raises that Lombardi. We'll all be crying of happiness and tears because we feel like we've been in it with him. You know what I mean? Like, yes, we did it. Even though you didn't think we could.
So, I guess like Brock Purdy to me didn't look great in week 2. I think you can argue in the first 2 weeks of the season, like it just hasn't looked very dialed in for this team, right?
100%.
And I think it starts with Brock, right? So I guess what maybe Kevin Harlan was saying, and just it's now amplified with the loss of McCaffrey and Deebo for these next couple of games here. Like if Brock Purdy doesn't look like the guy we have come to know him as, this great quarterback who is deserving of this like top 10 quarterback money contract, what does that mean for that contract? I mean, you even said it. It's a career defining season from the standpoint that it could impact maybe 5 to 7 million in his contract coming up. So I think that's what I'm kind of looking at these next stretch of games, and that is going to tell us a lot about what Brock truly is when you take him out of some of the pieces that are in this offense. And quite frankly, he's still going to have some of those pieces. You've mentioned he's still going to have Jordan Mason. He's still going to have Brandon Ayuk. So yeah, we can.
What's so funny is I'll like, no, he's our guy. This is our guy. And then you reminded me of last week. I'm like, oh, there's that. There's that. Because the truth of the matter is, he looked, he and the team, I'm going to put them all together, looked horrible compared to Monday night.
Right.
They came out so flat. And what concerns me now I gave you all my good stuff about Brock, right? So I got to be fair, right?
Give it to me.
What concerned me is that two things. One, I personally, and I never want to hear my quarterback go shake hands with the other team. And I always want to see that. But I don't want to hear, hey, man, you were killing it with those schemes. Can we not?
The scheme was crazy. Is what he said.
Am I wrong? Like, I play poker. You play poker? Are we ever?
I don't. But
are we ever? Well, okay. Well, in poker, you're not supposed to like kind of show your hand, right? I don't think hey, good game. That's all we needed to say. Only because to me, I'm like, you just kind of tipped your cards. Like, you tripped Brock up. And clearly we know that because we saw it, but I didn't need to hear it in public with cameras around. Like poor Sam Darnold, actually, we could talk about him, will never, ever hear the end of I see ghosts.
True. Yeah.
I see ghosts. It's never, you heard it probably 10 times this week because when you see Sam, you see ghosts. And so I don't want that for Brock. I don't want that. I don't want to be Brock, oh, you crazy schemes guy. I don't want that for my boy. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It was a bad game all the way around. Like somebody got mad at me because I said congratulations to the Vikings. And they're like, why are you congratulating them? I'm like, well, because did you see the game? Like,
Yeah, they looked great.
they looked great and we
They
looked
looked great.
horrible, right? I mean, those are facts.
And they made the 49ers look horrible to an extent. Like, yes, I think some of what happened in that game was self-inflicted on the 49ers
Yeah.
part, but I do think the Vikings and what they did on both sides of the ball, all three phases, honestly,
Yep.
special teams too, I think it did impact how the 49ers ended up looking and those mistakes that they made. So, yeah, I got to give kudos to the Vikings. And
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're a playoff team. I'm going to say it now. I know it's just after week 2, but it would not shock me at all if they end up being a playoff
I
team. But
I mean, I'm shocked that we are talking about Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, like,
and Derek Carr
and
even
Derek
like,
Carr. Like, and you know what though? Like,
yeah,
I'm always about the underdog, and minus the Niners, like, aside, like, I love a good underdog story. I love seeing people come up that were doubted and rise to the top. So, as a football fan, I love to see it. As a Niner
right.
fan, not so much.
Yeah. And here's something else you probably don't like to see. And credit to Grant Cohn. I know not everyone's a fan of Grant Cohn, but he did tweet this out. And I thought it was interesting, right? So Brock Purdy's last 7 starts, 4-3 record for the 49ers, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 1 lost fumble, quarterback rating of 87. Now, I think have to also provide the context that this is pretty skewed by the Baltimore game because it does go back to that game, week 16. So this includes let me see here. It includes the 2 regular season games of 2023 season, and then also 3 playoff games, including the Super Bowl, and 2 games to start this season. So when you look at that, though, I mean, 7-game sample size, it's not a lot, right? But these are the facts. This is Brock Purdy's last 7 starts. Like this doesn't look great. And when you think about some of the injuries that the 49ers are now dealing with, he may continue to struggle. I do feel like there's an opportunity for a get right for Brock Purdy here, even with all the injuries we're talking about, just because the Rams are that much more hurt than the 49ers. But I mean, realistically, he could continue to struggle. And if he does, I'd be asking some questions about like
Here we
I'd be
go.
questioning who Brock is. Like, was he just the product of all the stars that were around him?
But Steph, this is what kills me. Who's this guy now? What's his name? I'm gonna look him up after. What's this guy's
Who?
name?
Who?
The guy that put the 7 last starts. What's his name?
That doesn't matter. These are
Okay.
the facts, though.
But
He just tweeted out.
okay,
Grant.
but most people will do 5 look back, 10, 20. It's 7's a very weird number. I'm just throwing that out there.
That's fair. And yes, I looked back.
Okay.
That
Okay. That's
7th
weird.
game was the Baltimore Ravens game. So yeah, that's
Okay. See, I'm just protecting my boy. I'm like, come on, man. Now, and you know what? He's not the only guy. These stat guys, they love, I mean, I've heard some weird things like this is the stat of all the quarterbacks that are 23 years old, born in November for the last
it's
for
very
the
like
last
moving the
9
goalposts,
games.
very
Like,
narrowed.
for the last 9 games for the quarterbacks born in like November. Like, you're like, really? This is a stretch. But
I've seen those. Yes, there's some
okay.
stretches.
But I get the overall picture. And the overall picture, and I agree, is that this season is a defining season because you really, in my opinion, we are talking probably about $5 to $7 million difference of what we will sign come off season. And if we go to the Super Bowl, when we go to the Super Bowl, when we win the Super Bowl, you're in the $60 million range. Probably. If we don't, and there's a severe decline this year, now you're talking 45, 50. maybe.
I don't know.
And maybe, I mean, I just don't think I don't think you can sign this guy for less than 40.
Yeah.
Just based off of his he's so young and what he's done for the past 2 years. I don't think his agent would allow it, first of all, and there's so many
Right,
other
exactly.
there's so many other teams that need quarterbacks. Panthers, okay? That's a whole nother story. You know what I mean? So, I feel like he's got enough to have a nice paycheck to get, and I really love the fact that we might give him that kind of money and he will still walk in with Kohl's khakis, and I love that.
He absolutely will. You already know
Right?
this.
You already know
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
Coles just needs to get him on a commercial.
Yeah,
Some
why are
Kohl's
we
cash money.
I like his new
That's Kirk Cousins.
Ariats.
Yes.
Yeah, I like his cowboy boots, and I think Kohl's is probably they're on it. Yeah.
They're probably working something out in the background. But
I mean, let
look,
me ask you, Steph, do you
yeah.
think so for the next few games, who do we have? For sure. We have Brandon, we have Kyle, we have Jawan.
Yeah. Yep.
Um
As far as the tight ends,
What,
we have
Conley?
Eric Sauber is the tight end 2, which I think as
Okay.
a receiving option, to me, he's better than the guys they've had in the
Mason,
past. Jordan
right?
Mason, who's looked great.
Yep.
So yeah, you know what? I think that should be enough. That
It
should be enough. And you also have Kyle Shanahan calling plays for you. That should be enough. We have a question here from Corey, or just a comment from Corey Soto. No, if there is a severe decline, they don't extend them and they take a quarterback in the first round or trade for Cousins. Not joking. Betcha.
What?
So
Cousins?
is it? I know we're just in week 2, but is it? And we'll probably revisit this throughout the season if there is a decline. Corey is assuming that, like, if there's a decline, that's how severe. Yeah, severe decline. So severe. I mean, that's like dude turns into Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. The old Sam Darnold.
If there's a severe decline, I don't think I can't even. Why are you stressing me out, Corey? It's only week 2, Corey.
It's only week 2.
I don't even want to think
it's just
about this.
It's just a hypothetical. It's just hypothetical. I mean,
okay. Well, hypothetical. It would have to be a severe decline because I do think that they're going to end up signing him. I think for 1,000 reasons. He's a great guy. I know that sounds crazy, but it does matter who the face of your franchise is. I think he puts in the work. He studies, and despite being 2 inches probably smaller than I would like, I think we have ourselves a pretty good, accurate quarterback. So I feel like we would need to fix whatever it is and move on. I can't imagine that Brock Purdy isn't going to have that franchise money.
Yeah. Well, it will remain to be seen. Like I said, this is going to be something we're going to revisit probably throughout the season because we do feel like it is, of course, going to be a career-defining season for Brock Purdy. And I do think these next couple of games will probably tell us a little bit more about who he is and what he should deserve to be paid after this. But look, I mean, at least for this week, playing the Rams, he's been great against the NFC West, including the playoffs. Brock Purdy is 8-0 against the NFC West. That's the 3rd most consecutive division wins to start a career by any quarterback since the 1970 merger. Kurt Warner holds the record for that one with 11. But so hopefully, given the history, Brock Purdy could get that win on Sunday against the Rams. Now, let's discuss someone who Brock Purdy should be looking for more in this game with McCaffrey and Deebo out, and possibly even George Kittle. Last week, Monica, we did discuss Brandon Ayuk and his week 1 performance. This week, I want to talk about his week 2 performance. Brandon Ayuk himself felt a lot better about his week 2 performance, and here's what he had to say about it.
No, I was happy. I was happy to watch the tape this week. Yeah.
What did you like?
I like just coming back alive in the running game. Just my feet a little bit better. Just having more fun.
obviously always want to produce, but with Deebo out, Christian out, do you feel anything more like, hey, I've got to be able to step up even further now, given the situation?
I'm just looking to take another step. We got another day of practice today, so looking to get better again today, tomorrow and Friday, and then just let it go on Sunday, see what happens.
So, I mean, obviously, week 2 was better than week 1. He had 4 catches, 43 yards on Sunday against the Vikings. I know a lot of people's assumption was that Brandon Ayuk disappeared. Where is he? He was getting open. Like if you watch the tape of this game, he was getting open. My critique, and I've mentioned it in previous shows this week, was that I think Brock Purdy needs to pull the trigger when he sees Brandon Ayuk open. There was a little bit of hesitation. So I just have to say, this week, we were talking about it last week. We were like, we want to see Brandon Ayuk step up. Now, I think, yes, with another week under him, I think he's putting that together. He's stacking his games a little bit. And I am expecting a breakout for Brandon Ayuk on Sunday.
But again, this is where we go to the off season for me. This is why you have to get your players into training camp. I don't care how good you are. The chemistry starts in camp.
Yeah.
It doesn't convert from a Super Bowl. It doesn't convert from the playoffs. It just doesn't. So I'm hoping that we have enough time under our belt to see that chemistry between them again. But I've said it before, I think on our show, is that it's a human element. If I'm a quarterback and I've been throwing for 5 months, 4 months to Juwan Jennings and to Deebo, and now I'm in a game, I'm just humanly more prone to throw it to whoever I've been used to throwing it to for 4 months.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're not completely wide open, I'm probably going to do my second progression, my third progression. For the newer fans, what that means is, as a quarterback, you have a few options when you for each play. Well, usually. And if that first option isn't there, you go to the second option. These are called progressions. And so what I'm saying is, when you're not used to throwing to somebody, you're humanly, I think, conditioned to go to where you've been throwing prior. And so
right, where you're comfortable with.
Where you're comfortable. And right now, that's a long time to not have Brandon since Super Bowl. And I won't get into it, but I'm just saying, I'm not even going to do it. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm tired of being in trouble, Steph.
Who's in trouble? What's going on?
People unfollow me. They block me because I tell the truth. Niner fan or not, I tell the truth. And it does matter. I believe the gelling of the team matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and off field things can affect the locker room and on the field. So all I'm hoping for is that and I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing they are aware, and they have probably got there early, stayed late. I can imagine that they are doing whatever they need to do to get back on the same page. And I am hoping to see a breakout game from BA and Brock, because 1, the fans want to see it, and 2, we actually need it this game.
Yeah, we need to see it. We want it, but we need it.
We need to see it this game. We don't need to be seeing him wide open, Brock not pulling the trigger, or whatever that is. We can't. We got to have confidence in the wide receivers that are on the field, and that is Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, and I do think through 2 weeks, what we're mentioning here, and I agree with you, has definitely played a role in the lack of, I guess, involvement for Brandon Ayuk, right? And I think also you pair that in week 2 with the fact that the Vikings scheme is crazy. And I do think Brock Purdy was second guessing things out there. He was thinking just a second longer about, okay, what coverage they got going on post snap. They switched some things up. All that, I think, played a role in that. But this week, with the Rams struggling, their cornerbacks being hurt, their starting corners, like Brandon Ayuk's going to be going up against some backups. There's no excuse for Brandon Ayuk to, one, not get open. I think he's not going to have an issue there. And there isn't an excuse for Brock Purdy to not throw it to him, right? So to me, and when you hear Kyle Shanahan talk about Brandon Ayuk this week, because he was, of course, he kind of said, like, the opportunities were there, but there were several other factors as to, like, why it didn't actually come to fruition. Like, he didn't always get the ball. But so that's like, Kyle knows that Brandon Ayuk is getting open. He's going to continue to scheme things for Brandon Ayuk, quarterback, and the rest of the offense needs to be on their P's and Q's to make sure that it happens, because they're going to need Brandon Ayuk. Like you said, we want to see it. Yes. It's a want.
Yes.
Need to see it.
And the only concern that I have is when you have a game the way we had in week 2, now there's tape. Now there's tape on us. I say yes, clearly the Niners. Now there's tape on the Niners, and there's tape on Brock Purdy on what worked. So now we got to look at that too. Like, okay, the Rams saw this.
More of what worked.
Right? So now we're going to take a page out of that book, and now we got to be prepared, the mental component, that they're going to come after Brock.
Right.
I believe that. They're going to come. So
They'll try.
I just hope our O-line, let's go. We need
We're
Trent.
looking at
we
you,
need
Jake
everybody.
Brendel, Colton McKivitz. Oof, those guys. Leaving a lot to be desired, those two guys. But yeah, I think Trent will have a better game. I think for him, the conditioning week 1, like, obviously he was able to get through most of that game.
I love that he ran off to get oxygen.
He needed
my boy.
But on a short week, I think that's where it kind of caught up to him, him missing camp, right? So, and having to travel as well. So I would expect another week under him as well. Trent's probably gonna, be better. And like I said, I think we're expecting the same out of Brandon Ayuk. I would also love to see more Jacob Cowing in this game as well. I mean, at this point, it's kind of a necessity that you get him involved out there too. I'm sure we'll see plenty of Jawan Jennings, but I'd love to see more Jacob Cowing in this game, because he's going to also give that speed factor, something that you don't have, on this offense. Yeah. So that can help switch things up a bit too for this offense. But look, I'm tired about talking about some bad stuff. Can we go to something positive with the injuries here?
Let's do it.
Talanoa Hufanga set to return this week, according to Kyle Shanahan. This is pretty big for the 49ers and
I just
the defense.
got chills.
You throwing the tees up? Let's throw the tees up.
Let's
go. Kyle Shanahan was asked about Hufanga's practice availability this week, and he said, quote, "He's full. We're going to be pumped. He should get back this week if everything goes right. We've missed him," end quote. We've all missed him, man. So I guess my question is, like, I don't know what to expect out of Hufanga, right? Because look, this is a turf field. I do have my concerns about that. I plan to ask Desi about that tomorrow in the preview show. But I guess also just from coming back from such a big injury, and players aren't always the same, at least right away after coming back from an injury like this. So I do like that they want to test this out against the Rams, who obviously are hurting, right? Like, I think this is like a good
perfect
kind
game.
of, it's a perfect game to kind of ramp him up, I think.
Yep.
So, but I guess I just don't really have expectations for what Hufanga is going to look like.
Right. I think it's a perfect game to get him going. And I think he'll have a great game. I do. I think, being off the field for 10 months, I think he's hungry, and I think he knows we need this game as well. So again, I'm always talking about the mental component because that's what I love about this game. On top of the X's and O's, I love the mental component of what these guys have to go through. And I just think he's going to have a good game, and I think we're going to be really surprised with what he puts together. And again, if we haven't said this yet, like, we need everybody to be on that A game come Sunday. We really
Yeah,
do. We really
absolutely.
need everybody to really, and I mean, it's a divisional game, and I still have the sting from that 2022. So I would just like to put that to rest and make sure that we get that dub Sunday. And hurt or not, I think it's an important game for us to win.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And the defense had a lot of like miscues, and they didn't look too sharp out there aside from the greatest Fred Warner. But I
Oh,
think having
breakout
Hufanga
game.
back, yeah, dude, Fred is like
Yeah.
playing at a different level right now, like DPOY type level.
Yeah.
But the rest of the defense, we'll have to wait and see. Again, Mooney Ward, 49ers starting corner, TBD on his availability potentially for Sunday as well, as he's dealing with hamstring and a knee injury. So we'll have to see what that looks like. But like I said, I don't think there's much of an excuse for the 49ers defense to not have a better game in this one. And I know on Sunday too, like the special teams wasn't as good as we would have liked, because there was the blocked punt and there was a muff punt from Jacob Cowing. But it sounds like Kyle Shanahan doesn't seem too concerned about Jacob Cowing. He said, quote, "No, that's one muff punt. Just when it comes to catching stuff, he's been as natural of a catcher as we've had in our 8 years here. Just in practice, how he's been in games. I know that one got away from him, which we can't have those, but everyone muffs one here and there. You just hope that was the end of it." End quote. So it sounds like this is a vote of confidence that, hey, like, he's going to continue to be the punt returner, and that's fine. I guess I do hope that was the end of it too. But my thing is, like, I think once you muff one, especially when you haven't had too many other reps with it, that it becomes a mental thing, obviously.
See?
And he's a
Exactly.
young player. So I'm concerned about that. What I think Kyle Shanahan could do to build up his confidence, even in like special teams and with these returns, is getting them reps with the offense, getting them some catches in the offense, right? Some targets. And I think that confidence, if he gets involved there, can translate over to special teams and what he does there as well.
Yeah, I love that idea. Let's call Kyle right now. Get him on the phone. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean,
Excuse me, Kyle. Hi, it is Steph and Monica. And we just wanted to run a couple things by you before Sunday's game, if you don't mind. We would like to see, can we get that red phone out? Let's make a phone call. Let's do it.
Wouldn't that be hilarious if Kyle Shanahan just had like a line, like content creators, fans could just leave voicemails of ideas for Kyle Shanahan? He would
We're on to something.
He would hate that, but
oh, he would hate it more than anybody. He would more than probably Bill Belichick. He would hate it that much. Really?
Yeah,
he would hate it. Yeah, I love it.
Oh man. Now let's get into another like good set of news here for us 49er fans. We love more of that. Now, there was announced a list of 167 players that are the first list of nominees for this year's Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame. So in those 167 names, you had a few former 49ers on that list: Joe Staley, Vernon Davis, Delaney Walker, and man, my brain just like Antoine. What is his first?
I never know.
Bethea,
I never know how to say it.
Antoine, and I think it's just Antoine Bethea.
Okay.
Sorry, Antoine. But yeah, four lists of guys, storied careers for a lot of these. For Joe Staley, and I think Vernon Davis as well, and maybe even, I mean, all of these guys have the chance to be first ballot, right? Like, this is their first time being nominated. I think realistically, some of these guys that realistically could be like a finalist, Joe Staley, like,
I
absolutely,
was just gonna say
in my
Joe
opinion.
Staley, like
It's
you got to go
easiest
straight
decision.
to the jacket, babe. Straight to the gold jacket. For real.
Yeah.
That would be my pick. If I was a betting woman, my money would be on Joe.
I mean, I think Vernon Davis eventually is maybe deserving of it, but out of this list, absolutely Joe Staley, straight to the jacket, like you said. I like that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, hopefully they get it right. I mean, there's going to be a lot of updates in the several months throughout this as they narrow down the list of 167 names, and of course the other guys on this list who are also deserving of being finalists. That'll make it interesting, but yeah, I just think it's an easy decision to make
Yep.
Joe Staley one here. So
Yep.
yeah, just wanted to share that.
I love that.
Good
We needed
piece
some good
there.
news, Steph. We did.
Exactly.
I like
Exactly.
that's how I like to roll. We get rid of the negative stuff in the beginning and then we end with the good stuff, right?
That's how I like to do it. That's how I like to
Ex-
do my shows. So we end on a
exactly.
positive note. Now, I also want to remind everyone to download the Locker Fantasy app. Joining me on the fun of putting your football knowledge to the test. Make some prop bets. Compete with me and others. Win some money. Link is in the description of this video. Audio listeners, it will be in the description of the podcast. So hope to see you guys there. Locker Fantasy app. All right.
And can
Now,
I throw something out there, Steph?
yeah, let's
Just
do it.
while we're talking about apps, if you have a fan in your life, or if you have a person in your life and you wish they were a football fan or wish they knew more and like they were talking to you in the middle of a game, you're like, seriously, stop asking me questions in the middle of the game. Send them to the Football is Sexy mobile app. It's the only app where you can actually learn the game. 10 easy lessons. And if you think you know it all, take the trivia. I promise you're going to learn something you didn't know. Just throwing it out there. It's free. Football is Sexy. And that's where you can actually learn the game.
And you've told me before that you have like a glossary of like football terms. And earlier in the show, you dropped progressions and you kind of gave, all the viewers here a little lesson on progressions. Is that part of the glossary as well?
You know what, girl? And I can change this in real time. I'm like, you know what? Let me
You're like, if it's
see
not,
if
let
it's
me add
there.
it.
Let me just see if it's there. And by the way, I wrote every definition myself.
That's awesome.
Because look it is in there.
Hell yeah. And, hey, that's a long like description too. So like
that's why I do that. That's because if you were to look
right
this up on your own, and I did this before I made the app, I was more confused, and I'm a football fan, and I was more confused reading the definitions that are out there. I'm just curious. I haven't read this. It says you will most likely hear this when the announcers are talking about the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
After the ball is snapped to the quarterback has options. See?
There you go.
There it is. That's right. Okay. I was like, oh, I hope it's in my app now that we just talked about it. And it is.
Yeah. So make sure you guys check that out. Football is Sexy app. It's definitely a good one-stop shop for all football lovers. Love that. Yeah, man. This good things, positive things going on right here. But Monica, I hate to break it to you that I do have something not so positive to share at this moment, because now we're going to get into Trash Talk Thursday. And
I'm ready for it.
I gotta put us up on cold takes here. This is what we said last week.
Oh no.
Are the Vikings fans delusional? Yes or yes?
Yes. Yes. Take the Niners all day long. I think the spread is -6. I think they'll win by 12 or more. Oh,
yikes.
Yeah.
That was
Girl,
us.
trust me. You know how many pick'ems I got right last week? Like,
Not the
it was
Niners.
insane. I lost. I won. But yeah, my Niners hurt the most. Who knew? In our defense, who knew? Did you know? I didn't know.
No, I don't know, but now I do. I I respect the Vikings a hell of a lot more after Sunday. So let's not make that same mistake this week. And hopefully it's the Rams fans who are on the
Oh.
freezing cold takes this week. And yes, we keep receipts here, not just for other fans, but ourselves. We hold
Right.
ourselves accountable here. So
Yeah,
we got to keep it.
100%.
We got to keep that
Hey,
same
I was
energy.
wrong. Let me say it out loud. I was wrong. I apologize to all the Minnesotians and all the Prince fans in Minnesota. By the way, I'm a huge Prince fan. It was the only thing that kind of was like, okay. So, but yeah, we were wrong.
We definitely were on this one, but let's see what Rams fans are saying, and hopefully we could catch some Rams fans on some cold takes next week. All right, so obviously I go to Rams Reddit for this content, right? It's a dark place there right now because, like, with all the injuries they're dealing with, there weren't even that many people talking about this week's game because I think they're just like, I don't know, their mind is on other things. But one of the first things I saw when I went to Rams Reddit was this photo here that says "Niners suck, never change, Rams." And then I also saw when will this regular season misery against the Winers just come to an end? And it's like several losses that they've suffered at the hands of the 49ers. And so, yeah, they know the 49ers have dominated them for the most part in recent history. There's also a fan here saying that their linebacker core, they're not feeling too great about it, and said they're a huge weakness and are not close to starters for any other team in the league. They're not talking about the 49ers linebackers. They're talking about the Rams linebackers. They're saying this about their own team. And then there's another fan here that says it's going to be the craziest upset on Sunday. So there's some still keeping the faith here. I think I got to respect that at this point. And then
it's anyone's game, really.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, it really could be. So you always got to keep the faith. You never know. There's another fan that says we're cooked, but I'll still be there cheering on our team in a sea of red. I respect the hell out of that.
I love
man.
that. Who is that? I gotta follow them.
on Reddit, it's
Okay.
yeah, you see the username right there. But
Okay.
and by the way, 62% of 49er fans said to be at SoFi Stadium on Sunday. So they're not lying. It is going to be a sea of red out there.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less of 49er fans than we're used to, but obviously still predominantly Niner fans.
Right.
This last fan here says, I'm betting on an upset. Brock Purdy been getting sacked. No Deebo, no CMC. Just wait and see. Go Rams. So
I like it.
I respect their confidence. I do.
I respect it. And I'm telling you right now, Steph, I didn't want to text you last week, but I have you on dial. And if shit goes backwards, you're going to have to talk me off the ledge. So I'll be texting you. I can't wait till next Thursday to talk about it. So let's hope for good things.
We will, as we always do, hope for good things. Just really quickly, as we are live here, Nick Sorensen is speaking with the media, and we've got an update from one of our viewers here. Thank you, 49ers Throwback, for the update. Says it doesn't sound as if Charvarius Ward's knee hamstring issue is too serious. As per Nick Sorensen, quote, we're being smart and decided to hold him out, end quote. So that's good news.
I like it.
That means Mooney Ward probably is going to be out there for this game.
Bandage it up, baby. Give me that white tape.
Ice it.
White tape it, baby. Whatever we got to do.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's get to the last bit of our show here. As always, we like to end this show with $10 trivia. You get a chance to answer a 49ers trivia question and win $10. So let's see here. Today's question is, what 49ers receiver or pass catcher, I would say, was tied with Larry Fitzgerald and Randy Moss for the most touchdown receptions in 2009 with 13? All right, people in the live chat,
Man,
let
you
us
always
know.
go back. I don't remember what I did last week and you're talking about 2009. What? I'm like, let
I
me
think
think
we got
who was on the roster.
we got similar memories for sure, because I'm like the same way. I have Rob
I
on
was
my
still
shows.
drinking then, Steph. I was still drinking, I think. I mean, it's
I have Rob on my shows on Wednesdays, and we have like the way back Wednesday segment, and we kind of go through some historic games for the 49ers, and he remembers like everything, like every detail, like
crazy.
a specific play, and I'm just like, dude, I'm with you. I didn't remember
Yeah.
anything. So all right, so as always, I tell you guys, because we got a response in the chat, but I tell you guys, no question marks at the end. You got to lock in that
Yeah,
answer. So,
right.
Technic Chic, are
You
you
can't
locking
answer
that
a
in?
question with a question. Come on.
Yeah.
No.
We need confidence. We need confidence. Have as
We
much
need-
confidence as the Rams.
Hey, while they're waiting, who do you take tonight? Are you taking
All
the
right, so
Patriots or the Jets?
tonight we got the Patriots Jets. I'm gonna go Patriots. Well,
Jets at home.
yeah, Jets
Aaron's
at home.
back.
They
He's
look a
off the
little bit more
ayahuasca. He's off the ayahuasca.
stop. They looked a little more cohesive in their last week's game, just a little. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna go Patriots. I'm gonna go Patriots.
Okay.
In an
I
upset.
should probably do what you say because I lost like almost all the games last week.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't trust you this time.
Don't
around.
trust me. I'm not saying it. I'm not going to be responsible.
All right, so for $10 trivia again, what 49ers pass catcher was tied with Larry Fitzgerald and Randy Moss for the most touchdown receptions in 2009 with 13? Technic Chic says it's Vernon Davis. The answer is Vernon Davis. So congrats,
Nice.
Technic Chic. All right. So as always, I know so we follow each other on Twitter, so you can send me a DM or just request either on Venmo or Zelle those $10. I'll get those over to you. Thank you so much for always viewing. Appreciate you. And everyone else that tuned in. Appreciate you guys. Really quickly, before we head out, do you have any ideas, Monica, about a score prediction for this one?
Are you seriously going to trust me after last? No, you're not. It's not about
it's just for the fun of it. Like,
okay, let me think.
I'm always going to ask.
Let me think. I was kind of close on Monday night.
All right. While you conjure that up, I'm going to go 33-19. And I want to also say that I made this prediction before the possibility of George Kittle not being in this game. So I would probably notch down the 49ers a little bit if George Kittle does not play. I would probably say,
if you say
27, I'm going to say 27-19 if Kittle
you're not
does
going to believe this. Right when you said, and you gave me time, I had already had the number, and guess what my number was? 28, 28, 21.
21. Okay. I respect that. Yeah. I think that.
If I was smart, I'd probably do some weird off number like 22 because someone's going to do something weird. But I'm just going to go with 28, 21. That's what came to me.
I locked it in. I wrote it down. We're going to hold ourselves accountable once again. So last week we were definitely wrong.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Wrong as could be.
But as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's show. Make sure you like this video if you haven't yet. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. Definitely appreciate it. But for now, folks, have a good rest of your Thursday. For me, for Monica, peace.
Peace.